Hi everyone! Today we're going to cover how to make a work order in FSM. So with our browser open, the first thing we're going to do is head over to Dynamics 365. If you don't have it bookmarked, you can just go to home.dynamics.com. Then we're going to go ahead and open Field Service. Make sure you have Field Service Production. There are a ton of similar ones: Connected Field Service, Taylor, Arizona Sandbox. You want Field Service Production. Now that I have FSM open, I'm going to come over here to this work order tab. Here I can see a list of all my work orders. And to create a new one, I'm just going to click New on this top ribbon up here. This brings me to my new work order form. You can see that the work order number is already populated. I can go ahead and enter my service account, which is the customer that will be receiving service. All right, so say I'm looking for a specific McDonald's account. I can go ahead and put a star here. That just tells the search engine that I'm not looking for an exact match. And say I'm looking for McDonald's 1035. You can see it came up right here. And it tells me the customer number, the service zone code associated with that customer, and that customer's payment terms, so I can coordinate with the technician just in case they need to collect payment on site. This billing account is not accurate to the account that we will actually be charged. To find the correct billing account, you'll want to go into BC. And for McDonald's, it's pretty easy. This one will likely be MC059. Next thing I gotta put in is our service zone code. This is easy too because it's already associated with our customer. So I'm just gonna put in that same code here. This one's Phoenix, Tucson. System status is gonna default to open unscheduled, which is great. Substatus, I can press enter to browse, and you can go ahead and add any new work order substatuses in here that you'd like to use. This is great because it allows you to filter through the work orders on the previous page that we were on by any of these different statuses. So maybe you already called the customer and this is ready for scheduling. I'll leave this off for now. For factory service order type, if you don't have these memorized, you can go ahead and click enter. And then I'll bring up a list of all of these factory service order types. For this one, we're just going to go ahead and go with normal. Priority. So a P1 is the highest priority, a P2 will be medium priority, and then we have other. So for this one, we'll go ahead and use P1 as an example. Price list is always going to be Business Central default price list. If this customer is taxable, I can go ahead and switch this to yes. However, this field can be a little bit finicky, so you may see it change back to no. And once you save the work order, you'll see that this taxable changes back to yes. For a factory authorized number, if we have that, we can go ahead and put it in here. For work location, if our technician is going out to the customer's location to perform the service, then we can leave it as on-site. And if they'll be working on the customer's unit in our shop, then we can change that to shop. For the primary incident box, the first field we have is reason for service. This is just going to be a brief note about what the customer reports is going on. Our detailed reason for service can provide a little bit more info, any other details that the customer had to add. So for example, they might say that the machine was beeping for about an hour before it went completely down. You might want to leave a note of what time the technician should be there, and maybe even if they're supposed to call the customer when they're on their way. Anything you think would be relevant and helpful for the technician to know. Called in by, you're going to put the name of the person who called in. Callback number, you're going to get a good callback number just in case you either need more information or the technician needs to call the customer to gain entry to the facility. Primary incident type, again, we can click enter to browse these. You'll see they're organized by type of machine and then issue that they're having for the reactive services. Or for PMs, you'll see that they're called PMs. Again, if you click enter, you can go ahead and browse all of those There are quite a few though, so you can always use that star to help search. We'll say, since this is an ice cream machine, we'll do shake soft serve other because we're not too sure what the customer has going on. If this primary incident type were a little bit more specific, the primary incident description would also be filled by that primary incident type. And the primary incident type also gives us an estimation of about how long this work order will take the technician. For reactive calls, we'll also want to put our symptom code in here. I don't have them memorized, so I'll go ahead and click enter. And maybe for our sake, we can go ahead and make this as unspecific as possible. We'll just say this is a broken part. Unit down, if the customer is not able to serve product, then we can go ahead and change this to yes. If that's the case, then we'll also want to make sure that the customer has cleaned out their unit to avoid any extra charges or any extra time that our technician has to spend there cleaning out the machine. The primary incident customer asset is just the serial number of the unit that the technician will be working on. A lot of the times the customers don't know this when they call in, so it's perfectly fine to leave this blank. The technician should definitely be filling this out once they're on site, but if you do know, then you can go ahead and make sure that serial number matches up here. For this customer, you can see they only have a few different machines, so if they say that it's their ice cream machine, then we know for sure that it's their C602. Something that's very important to note here is that there can only be one customer asset per work order. So if the technician is working on that C602 and the juicer while they're there, then you'll want to make sure that you have two separate work orders for them. If the customer has a PO number, you can go ahead and put that in here as well. You don't have to worry about filling out primary resolution at all. The dispatcher communication box is just here to make your life a bit easier. So this needs attention from dispatch box is just here so you can filter through all the work orders that you've marked yes. If you need to cancel or reschedule a work order, then you'll want to go ahead and put the reason in here. And you'll see you can select multiple. Any notes you want to leave for yourself or for billing can go in here as well. If you have to Uber a part to a technician, you can go ahead and put how much that Uber costs in here. And you'll want to go ahead and list the parts and quantity that you sent to the technician here as well. If there's a specific time that we need to complete this work order, then you can go ahead and fill out time from promised. So maybe the customer won't be ready until Monday. So we can go ahead and put this time from. We can adjust this to be a little bit earlier. And time 2, we definitely want to make sure that we get it done within that next week. So we have our time 2 promised in here as well. And I can adjust this to the end of the day as well. If the work order was created by an on-call technician, then they'll go ahead and change this to yes. This is just another filtering tool in case anyone makes any work orders over the weekend or while they're on call, because you will be responsible to make sure that those get on their board. So the prior visit or PM box is used when we have been out to a location for the same issue before. So the parent work order is just the most recent work order with the same issue that we've been to. So say 2262, we were there and we need to return with parts because we didn't have a compressor to change out. We can go ahead and mark that there. That way the technician can easily reference the notes attached to this work order. If it's a recall, meaning we were out there before and weren't able to fix it due to either the equipment, the technician, or a component, then we can add this here. But since it sounds like this is a rewrite, since we didn't have that compressor on our truck, we can go ahead and change this to rewrite yes. And usually with compressors, we have to order them from the factory. So we'll go ahead and put that we received it from the factory. And if this work order was created by an agreement, then the agreement would be filled out here. So it might say agreement 9. And agreements are just recurring work order programs, basically. So it would auto create this work order for you if that was the case. And it would tell you what agreement type there is as well. And you can see the different types we have here. If we're doing an installer startup, then we may need to put the factory update or customer upgrade. You're just going to pick which one it is, and there may be a bulletin number attached to that as well. The last thing we're going to do in this middle column is just make sure that all of these customer details look accurate to us. There are just a few other tabs that we'll want to check before moving on. I'm going to go ahead and save this work order. I'll scroll down just to make sure that that taxable changed to yes and that that sales tax code got in there. The booking is where the technician will fill out all of their information. You'll be able to see the products that they added here. The biller will be able to make any notes that they have here. If there are any specific service tasks, we can go ahead and add them here as well. We don't need to worry about articles. Location is another place where we can just check to make sure that this pin that they've dropped on our location looks accurate. Linked work orders is a great tool to use. This will show us any child work orders. So if this was a parent work order that we needed to return with parts to, then any of our child work orders associated with this one would be listed here. Record log is just going to show you who created or modified the work order and when it was created or completed or closed on. And then under related, we have a bunch of other different tabs that we can look into. Geofences is one that you may want to take a look at, not as you're making the work order, but maybe as a technician finishes it up, just because it'll allow you to see exactly when the technician started and left the job. I'm going to go ahead and save this then. So work order 2383 is now ready to be scheduled. And we can tell by going to our schedule board tab and noticing that it's at the top here. Scheduling a work order is super easy. Up here in this corner, you can see we have a little map view. You can see where our technicians are scheduled to be traveling to and from. These solid pins are where the technicians all live, and these pins with the check marks are where they're planning on servicing today. So if I want to determine which technician is best to take on this work order today, all I'd want to do is locate it on the map. And you can see that I had to unhide those requirements in order to see it, but I can go ahead and click it again. And it'll show me where exactly in Tucson it's at. And thankfully, it looks like we do have a technician that's right next door today. If I hover over it, we can see that this is Wallace. So if I want to throw this work order on Wallace's board, all I have to do is click and drag it up to Wallace. And it's going to give me a warning that this isn't within our time from and time to promised. So we can go ahead and leave that off the board for now. Since this is just a fake work order, I'm going to go ahead and throw it on this little BC technician that we have up here. I'll go ahead and drop it on. And if I want to move it to another technician, I can simply click and drag. If I want to make it later, I can click and drag. If I want to just remove it from the schedule board and bring it back down to the bottom, I can right click and remove. And you can see it came right back down to the bottom here. These different tabs serve many different purposes. So these first two are just the default tabs that come out of the box with FSM. This third tab is our first custom tab that shows all unscheduled active work orders that we have. So you can see it gives us a bit more specific information about the customer that's associated with the work order, what type of factory service order type it is, the system status, the city, the estimated duration, or time from and time to promised. Next tab we have is our unscheduled PM resource requirements, which is pretty similar to the prior tab, except you can see that it's only showing us factory service order type is PM. Same goes for our installs. You can see our factory service order type are all installs. And if we come back to our original tab, You can see we'll get about the same information if we want to just filter. So if I want to filter to see only normal calls and PMs, then I can hit enter, and you can see that our search has narrowed here. If I want to clear that filter, all I have to do is click X, and you can see now we don't have any filters on that. If I want to change the day that my schedule board is showing, I can toggle up here. You can see getting to the weekend, all of the schedule is grayed out. And here we have Monday. Another way I can change the days that I see on the schedule board is by coming up to our scheduler settings. And then just increasing the number of days per page that we have. So if I want to see the whole week on one page, you can see I can still toggle back and forth. This starts at Monday and it goes all the way through Sunday. There are a few other options in here that may be helpful for you. Like working time, you can see I have the entire day shown from 12 to 12. That's just to prevent any work orders from getting lost. In those late times where I can't see them, I might have thought that I lost them when really they're just hidden. But if you don't find that helpful, you can always narrow that working time. The time resolution will allow you to expand and contract how large this is. You can change the sizes of the rows and the columns. I generally always show the travel duration, and that's just these little tails on our work orders. So just feel free to play around with those. Coming back to the current day, you'll notice that all these bookings on the schedule board are all different colors. So for example, this dark blue means that the booking has been scheduled. Red means that the technician is traveling to the location. You can see the little car. This green means that the booking is in progress and the technician is on site. And this light blue means that the work order has been completed. There are a couple other things that we can change on this map here. You'll see all of these red pins can get kind of distracting. So if we go into our map view settings, we can always hide those requirements. And these are just all the open requirements down at the bottom here. We can also hide our bookings, which is what's going to be going on today. The organizational unit is our office. We can hide that if we want to. And we can also hide the current locations of the technicians, which are these little trucks. So feel free to play around with those as well. Thank you all so much for watching. If you ever have any questions about the content that we covered today, feel free to reach out to your manager and they'll do their best to support you. Otherwise, they can always put you in contact with me and I'd be happy to help you as well.